As you heard Ben say, after about a decade serving on the field in Thailand, Ben and Charity felt the Lord's release from that call, that place of service, and they've returned to the United States, and they're in the process of handing over leadership to the very capable Lahu Christians that they have invested in, that they have built up, and that they've served for these many years. And we as a region just want to tell you both, and your girls who couldn't be here tonight, how thankful we are for your willingness to answer the Lord's call, to give of yourselves, and that you have done that with integrity and faithfulness. You've represented the Lord, and you've represented all of us well, and we are grateful for both of you. This is just a very small token of our appreciation, and we wanted to make sure tonight in front of everyone to be able to express to you how much we love you and how thankful we are for your years of service. So would you join me in thanking Ben and Charity for their time? I'm going to let Ben say a few words.
Thank you all for the love and support over the last 10 years. I'd just like to take a few minutes to share one lesson that I've learned from our time in Thailand. So this is a story going back to 2018. I ran my first and only ultra marathon. Before I ran an ultra marathon, I had the idea that mental toughness and just sticking it out the longest was the way to win, or at least finish. My previous attempt at an endurance race was when my friend invited me to join him on a 2-day multi-sport endurance race. I trained for a full 2 weeks, borrowed a mountain bike, and told Charity that I'm ready for this and I won't get hurt. So I crashed, broke my arm less than an hour into the race. So I learned the hard way that endurance races are a whole lot more complicated than I thought. And just having the ability to keep plodding is not enough. There are other things to think about. So for the ultra-marathon trail race, I prepared differently. I consulted friends, read blogs, practiced with the equipment I'd be using, and paid attention to nutrition. Overseas mission work is a lot like an ultra-marathon, in that it is complicated and multifaceted, and it is better with a community or a team of people surrounding the runner. One example of this is with pacing. Mountain trail racing is different than flat road racing because you can't just decide the pace per minutes per mile and keep that. There are drastic changes in elevation, changes in terrain, weather, and your own mental and physical state. You can't just pick a pace and say, I just have to keep moving forward at this steady pace. I just have to keep moving. The only thing that matters is consistent forward progress, regardless of the situation. Steady progress is great, but no ultra runner ever succeeded by putting their head down, ignoring the circumstances of the run at that moment, and trying to do exactly the same thing over and over. When we work cross-culturally, there are cultural mindsets and different obstacles that affect our pacing. The goal may be the same, but the pacing has to vary with the terrain. It might be as simple as recognizing that it takes longer to say something when it needs to be translated, or it might be as complicated as the effects of failure. Western mindset is that failure is a learning experience. Well, at least we went down swinging. In Asian culture, failure is seen as a loss of ground or a loss of face. We might not like this any more than a runner likes the slippery, washed-out trail or the unannounced river crossing. What the ultra runner and the Evangelical Friends Church have in common is the need to be wise in our strategy, and intentional in our execution. Secondly, there are moments in a race that it feels like it's never going to end. When a finite task feels infinite, we want to quit. When we treat an infinite task like a finite one, sometimes we feel like a failure. The work in Thailand is an infinite game. And here's what I mean by this. A finite game has a beginning and an end, a winner and a loser. Like a football game. There are two teams, one of them will win and one of them will lose. The goal of the finite game is to win the game, and then the players of the game move on when the game's over. An infinite game isn't like that. The goal isn't to win just that one game, it's to keep playing the game. The mission of discipleship is like this. It's not to go into a new place, win, and then leave. The goal is to enter the game and leave the game and the players in a better place than you found them, passing the baton to others and then leaving. My hope and prayer is that as the players change in Thailand and in Southeast Asia, we as a team can continue to run the race with the collective wisdom and experience of the Evangelical Friends Church, and by training our passionate workers for the next generation. We can give the runners, our Lahu brothers and sisters, the prayer, financial, and moral support that they need to continue the race. Understanding that we don't want to create dependency and hurt the relationship we have with our team. Without language and communication, we don't have relationship. Without relationship, we don't have vulnerability and trust. And without vulnerability and trust, we don't have a team. The Luke 10 initiative is a great opportunity for our churches and the believers in Thailand to be wise and intentional as we continue to participate in the infinite game of supporting each other in the harvest. I'm so grateful for the chance to be part of this team as we continue to support our runners all over the world.